Welcome to the 2019-2020 Lake Simcoe ice fishing forecast. Brought to you by Berkeley, help you catch more fish this winter. Clam Outdoors, don't just live winter, thrive in it. And Aqua-vu, stop guessing and start watching. The fall of 2019 seems to be on its last legs with the first snowfall in early November. The almanac is predicting temperatures, precipitation, and snowfall to be above normal. AccuWeather says cold in northern Ontario, but a little warmer in the south with above average snow. My prediction is, get your safety gear ready and look out the window. Ice quality is a factor in any predictions I make. It's also important to note that my predictions are based on observation and available data. Short-term catch rates are not a good indication of overall population, but high angling effort over an extended period can certainly show trends. In 2019, I predicted perch fishing through the winter would be excellent. Whereas this might have been accurate for some that were dialed into deeper water fishing, on average, anglers thought it was a slower season, particularly in shallow water areas. There could be multiple reasons why the majority of larger fish were caught deeper. We now have entire generations of perch that have grown up feeding on goby. Goby's preferred winter depth is a little deeper. Also, the two previous years had very poor quality deep water ice. This added pressure to traditional perch grounds. One off year doesn't make a fishery, and I would expect it to bounce back a little this year. Whitefish through the ice was excellent last year, even though there was a lot of pressure because of excellent ice conditions. Catch rates, both deep and shallow, were good right to the close. Stocking rates continue to be over 100,000 a year. Add to this a healthy natural reproduction, and this is a recipe for a very good whitefish fishery. Out of the hundreds of fish we caught last year, the vast majority were natural. With what appears to be a rebound in the smelt population, many of the fish were caught deep. These deeper fish were larger on average, and this is where some of the stocked or clipped fish showed up. There is increasing pressure on whitefish. More anglers have learned more effective techniques and baits. With good quality ice, this increased pressure could eventually affect the fishery. Any reduction in natural recruitment or stocking could certainly have a dramatic effect. But for 2020, it looks like it's going to be an excellent year. Just a reminder that on Lake Simcoe, it is a 2-fish limit for whitefish with a sporting license. For the winter of 2018-2019, we predicted a very tough year for lake trout. The trend that started 5 to 7 years ago hasn't changed. There's very little to no natural recruitment, and stock fish that were cut from 100,000 to 50,000 back in 2010 don't seem to be surviving. There is a population of very large fish. The natural population of the early 2000s are all very large fish now, some in excess of 20 pounds. Very few small fish are being caught. The declining population has not gone unnoticed by the Ministry of Natural Resources. Goal is to get stocking levels back up to 100,000 or better by next year, and thanks to the CSFL, a tournament live release boat is being used to transport yearling hatchery fish to deeper water instead of off of piers. This might reduce predation from shallow water predators or birds. We don't know why natural reproduction started again in the 2000s and ended again. We won't know if it's happened again in the last 3 or 4 years. We do expect that it's going to be another tough year for lake trout for numbers, but we might see some very large fish caught. Although I only forecasted 3 species for the winter of 2018 and 19, there's certainly more to Lake Simcoe's ice season than these 3 species. Burbot, or ling, have certainly got a lot more attention over the last 3 to 4 years. Years ago, these fish were thought as pretty low-quality fish, but in recent years, people have discovered what an incredible table fare they are. This freshwater cod is often called a poor man's lobster because of the consistency of the meat. Primarily a deep water fish through the summer months, in mid-January they move to the shallows to spawn and they remain there through February. They are primarily nocturnal feeders, but during the spawn in shallow waters they'll feed all day and will hit most of the same baits we use for lake trout and whitefish. They occupy most of the same water as trout and whitefish in the winter and share the same food web. You can identify them on your sonar because everything looks like it's in slow motion, although they're very reactionary. In Fish Management Zone 16, or even in Lake Simcoe's specific regulations, there is no limit on burbot. But as they become more popular and to target game fish, particularly since they're excellent table fare, it might be time to consider some limit. It doesn't take long these days for a group of anglers to become more proficient at targeting these fish. Although populations are fairly well distributed around the lake, during the spawn they tend to consolidate in small areas. It wouldn't take long for a group of educated anglers to catch most of a population. They're very aggressive during the spawn. I would expect it to be a very good year for burbot or ling. Lake Simcoe has always been a pretty good pike lake, but in recent years it's booming. Whereas the best pike fishing used to be in Couchiching or the south end of Lake Simcoe, now they can be found almost anywhere in the lake. Big pike tend to go deeper in the summertime. You find them off rocky points or along the deepest weed lines. But when the lake freezes up, they all come shallow. It's very common to find big pike in less than 10 feet of water. They'll eat suckers, perch, bluegill, cisco. As for table fare, a lot of people think they're as good as walleye. We won't need good deep water ice, so I think it's an excellent alternative, and it's going to be an excellent year for pike. So that's my forecast for the winter of 2020. Hope we have early and great ice. Everybody stay safe out there. Tight lines.